Hey, how's it going, guys? Back for another episode number 9, I believe. It's Chale's Legacy podcast. We're gonna do a little something different today, guys. We're gonna go ahead and talk about one of the worst days of our lives. As you can tell, there's four of us, five with my dad. This is a picture of my dad here, but my little brother couldn't be here today, man. He's taking this one pretty hard, man. This passing of my dad is pretty rough for him, man. But Elijah, we love you, baby, bro, and you know, if anything you ever need, bro, we're right here. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the day. People been asking how we got through it, and this would be a good one to talk about, man. But we just wanted to see if we can help anybody out. We went through what we went through, and it was hard for all of us. All of us experienced something different, and I was 22 when my dad passed away.
I was 14 when my pops passed.
As Elijah was
Elijah was 11,
11.
and my mom. How old are you, mom? When you
Do I have to say my age?
She's
Well,
22.
my mom was up there. She was up there. Okay, she was up there in age, but you know, um, hey
I say
guys,
it was 13 years ago.
13 years ago. But hopefully, guys, this can impact somebody, man. We know with COVID, a lot of people lost loved ones, and it's no easier way to say it, man. Just everybody says time heals everything. It doesn't. I'm gonna tell you like that. It doesn't. What happens is you just learn to adapt to living without them, and it's ugly. But like I was just mentioning a little while ago to my little brother, this world's gonna keep going, moving with or without you. What you do about it is really on you. But I hope this impacts people. This is really hard on us, but we felt that it was best to talk about it because we want to let it out of our chest and just explain to people what happened on our side of the story and how we got through with it and go on from there, guys. I believe my mother's gonna start it off, and then me and Isaiah are gonna jump on it because when it happened, we found out the news. We were together, and my mom was by herself at work, and of course, my little brother was somewhere by himself as well. So, um, guys, take it easy on us, and I hope leave feedback, leave comments, and I hope y'all enjoy this. And once again, guys, this is Chale's Legacy podcast. This by far had to be one of the worst days of our lives, July 14th, 2009. So without further ado, my mom's gonna start it, and then we'll jump in and forgive us, guys, if we cry, but we felt like this needed to be told. So hope y'all enjoy it, and here you go.
Good evening again. My name is Priscilla Miranda Ayala. First of all, again, like I did the last podcast, I want to give my respects to my new husband and his family. If I disrespect anyone or offend anyone in any way or form, this is something that I'm doing with my boys for memories and also to let other men and women that have gone through our situation, children that go through a loss of a loved one that you love with all your heart and you don't expect it to hit you the way it does. These are called accidental deaths that happen. And again, like I said, we're not victims, we're survivors, and we've survived something that a lot of people think they won't survive. We've come a long ways. I have my youngest that he was not excluded. He was asked to be here, but he's just not ready yet. And we're going to work together. We've always been a family that prays together and stays together. We just got out of church a little while ago, so we're here to talk to y'all about our situation. Maybe it will help someone.
It's been 13 years, guys. 13 years this year, and not a day goes by I don't think about my dad. Think about the possibilities of what it would have been like if he was here. But I gotta believe in God, and I gotta believe in His plan, and that's what helps me and motivates me. And um, any opening remarks before mom proceeds?
A lot of people don't know. If you don't know us, we're from Cotula originally. We've all been here in Cotula for most of our lives. My deceased spouse is Carlos Miranda, the father of my children. This is him. I brought his picture today because I wanted y'all to know who he was. That's a smile that you would always see in this man. Always see that beautiful smile in his face.
That's my dad right there. And it's ironic. That's his jersey in the back. So I think the Cowboys are gonna have a good year this year, guys.
I think he's right.
As I had mentioned on my podcast the last time, we really don't want to focus too much on the bad side of Charlie, but I do want you to understand where he came from and where he was at towards the end of. I don't say he died. I always say he passed because he passed to another place where we're all going to go. He just passed the test, the final exam, the final test that we're
There's
all
a
going to have to pass.
there's a thing that people say instead of like you could say unalive. I thought that was pretty cool. I heard somebody say that the other day about their family member. They said my family member unalive this day. And I kind of like that. I don't know for me, but everybody has their own.
Because I feel that he's in a place where we're all going to get there
Yeah.
one day. So, um, July 14th, 2000. I'm gonna go back to July 13th, which was the day before he passed away. No. Charlie was Charlie. Charlie had some issues with his jealousy, his controllingness, stuff like that. But he was working on it. When he came back from that retreat in 2004, we finally got it correct. He was in 2004. He went to a retreat. I went in 2005, and he came back a totally different man. But he knew that the battle wasn't over. You know, it's not something that you change overnight. It's something that takes time and it's a process because you grow up in an environment where you think things like that are normal, and he grew up in that environment and he knew it towards the end. But it takes a lot for a man or a woman to go to God and surrender everything to God, and he did that. And as the years went by, I noticed that Charlie was trying, that he never stopped trying. He stopped drinking for 2 years because he thought it was the alcohol. For 2 years, I had the sober Charlie. It didn't change his jealousy, his insecurities. He was, but that's the way he was raised. He was raised thinking that that was a normal way of being a man. Everybody's raised different. And of course, it got to the point where we were reminding each other every time, hey, that's not right. Communication is very important in a relationship. So when Charlie came back from the retreat, we would communicate about anything. If he didn't like something that I said, he would make it a point to me to let me know when the boys weren't around. Hey, I didn't like what you said, and vice versa. Um, July 13th, we went. Their dad had this thing about not ever wanting to fit into a size 34 Levi. He loved 501s. And he told me, if I ever go over size 34, you better let me know. Because he was a boxer, so he was always fit. He was never overweight.
Yeah, we literally
But
bad bods here.
I remember that I had to get him a new pair of pants because we would go to church. And the last time I saw him wear a 34, the pockets were sticking out, and he would try to stick them in, but they would still stick out. So I literally went and got him a size 36, but I tore the labels off so he wouldn't see, because I just wanted him to be happy. He was happy. He was having a good time with us. We would go out to have dinner dates and stuff like that. So I didn't want it to stop. So that Monday, the 13th, Charlie found out because he did the laundry. He found out because I forgot to take the label off of one of the pants. So he came in, he goes, why didn't you tell me I was a size 36? And I was like, he goes, what did I tell you? We had decided to go walk and run at the high school. We went, we thought we're going to start doing it every day. And I'll never forget, he was wearing a Kansas State shirt.
Kansas State.
And his black shorts, and we went to go walk and run, and he was passing the ball with the boys. He was motivated that we were going to lose weight. Did you have anything to say
No,
about that?
I wasn't here. I was in San Antonio.
It was you and your brother, right?
It was me and Elijah, and I remember that day because a big part of my dad with us growing up, we would always play football outside. So we always had the street out here, so we were always playing out here. My dad always throw us passes. So I remember that day because they would run. Me and Elijah were just throwing the ball back and forth and stuff. But I remember my dad was throwing the ball with us before we got in the truck. But I never knew that was gonna be the last day he was gonna do that. So That's something that I cherish and I stayed with me because that was the last time we threw the ball to each other. It was pretty cool. It was a little fun memory we had.
So that was Monday after work. Uh, Monday evening, Charlie was the type of person that was starting to bless people anytime. He would go to a store, and if he had the last $5 and the person beside him had a coffee, he would buy their coffee. We were going through hardships at that time. We were really struggling because he was barely getting back on with what's it? What's the name of the company? The Chris company. And I was working at the bank and making not like people make nowadays. And he was struggling to get back on his feet. And I remember that evening, he told me he had a habit of in the entrance of the door, he would always leave his hat laying backwards, and his wallet and his watch and everything would be inside. And every night I would go over there just to make sure he had money in his wallet, because I can go without. I live here. I can be in Cotulla, get myself a sandwich or something, but I never wanted him to be stranded somewhere because he was a truck driver without money. So I would always go making sure that he had that money in his wallet. And I remember opening the wallet that day, and he didn't have any, so I had saw that he had a receipt. I had given him my credit card, our bank credit card, and I think we had like $50 in there. And I saw the receipt that was like for 20 something dollars, and I remember that I said, what did you buy with $20? We're struggling here, And he didn't tell me, but I'll tell you what he did. Later on, when all this stuff happened, I found out that he had actually purchased some gallons of water at Chevron outside, and would always carry these waters and chips and stuff, because while he was working in the trucks, he would come up, illegals would come up to him, and he was limited to what he could give them because of the struggle. I would make him lunch, and he would give them whatever he had. And he goes, at least I know that I could give them the water and the chips and stuff that won't get bad in my truck. So he said he had bought that, and he had bought some coffee for one of his coworkers and stuff like that. And anyways, I was upset because we're in a budget and he's doing this. But I remember we had a little argument, and I went to bed. And I told them, later tonight, you're going to regret it. I was, typical wife. And he stayed up. And I'll let Isaiah go from that one, and then we'll jump back to what happened the next day.
It was so bad, guys, that I was working at the prison at the time, and I remember you told me that I was gonna get my first big check. It was about like 1,300 or something like that. I don't even remember. And it was about your overtime. And I remember you told me, because we got into a little argument, and you called my dad, of course, narc on me. But she said, "Mijo, we're so bad in debt and we're far back, we're gonna lose your truck. Or we need help with your truck payment." I was like, "Okay, well, how much do you need?" And she's like, we're going to need all your money, like the whole check. And I was like, "Mom, I've been working for 3 weeks straight. I didn't get paid right. And this is my first big check. Like, I had plans to go to San Antonio." And you're like, "I'm sorry. Like, we have to, we're in a budget. Like, me and your dad, we're struggling. We're going to lose the vehicles, this and that." And we would park one truck after another to make sure they never, repoed us or anything like that. It's kind of embarrassing, but that's just the truth, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I was mad because I worked my butt off and they were going to take my check from me. So she told me that, and I got angry at her. I was like, "No, you're not doing that. At least leave me with some money so I can go to San Antonio." And my mom, of course, she
I had to call your dad to take over. And when dad came in the picture, everything changed.
Yeah, he... No, he didn't want the phone call
The
because
boys would go, don't
she
call
would
him.
say, she's like, "You know what, cabrón? I'm going to call your dad." And I said, "Nah, like, why? How much do you need?" So... So she called him, and all I remember her saying in Spanish, "When I get home, voy a hacerlo."
Cuando hable contigo, we'll take care of it. Cuando llegues a la casa, vamos a ver.
He said that, and I just remember I was like, "Oh man!" So that was like at 2, in that ruined the whole day. I'm just like, you hear like a semi, you're like, "Is that him? Is that him?" And no, about 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, when dad would get home, you hear shh, when he pops the brakes. Shh. I was like, "Oh man, he's here." And I remember specifically, guys, he came in.
Left that day.
No, but this is before, like, cause this is whenever y'all were struggling. That Saturday I left. I didn't come back till Monday, but I went to work, so I didn't see him till Tuesday. But then he passed away. Yeah, but that Saturday, I believe it was Saturday or Friday before I left. He came in and he came to the kitchen and he was washing his hands. I still remember Dad wearing his pants, and I still remember how he looked. He would always come home and wash his hands. And then I said, "What's up, Dad?" And he looked at me and he goes, "Nah, no, what's up, me?" He goes, "Come here, let's talk." I said, "Yes, sir." I was poop. I was scared, poop. And he's like, "What's the deal? You talking to your mom like that and disrespecting your mom and saying that this and that?" I'm like, "Dad, I just wanna go out, Dad. I've been working my butt off and I wanna go to San Antonio, man. I was single at the time. I just wanna go have fun. My friend Mike, at the time was my uncle, my ex uncle. I was like, man, I wanna go chill with Mike and rain on all day, man. And I really don't, I don't wanna be your dad. I've been working my butt off every day." And he looked at me and he goes, I remember he looked at me in my face and he goes, "That bueno." He goes, "Give me your money." And I think Mom already pulled it out. And I think it was like a 1,300. He gave me the cash. And you know what this man did? He said, "Okay, that one, give me your money." I said, "Okay." He goes, "You want to go out so bad?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, give me the money." I gave him $1,300. He goes, "Here you go." He gave me $100. And he goes, "That's what you're gonna go off." And I looked at him. I said, "I'm getting $100 off my $1,300." And he goes, "We're struggling right now, son. You need to understand that we need help. Once we're on our feet, I wish I didn't have to do this, but we got your truck and insurance and all this." And I just remember I was like, "Okay, that one." He goes, "But here's 100. You can go to San Antonio. It's fine. You want to go there and go out there and do whatever you want to do? That's fine. But you only have $100. You budget yourself." I said, "Okay, cool. Thank you." He goes, "I want to take off. Go for it." So I left, and the rest is history, man. But yeah, Mom knocked on me, so. But yeah, go.
I had to that day.
You want to go back to what you were saying? Mom?
So,
I don't know if Isaiah has.
it's just I know she was. You want to go off about what happened, or you want me to
Yes.
say?
Well, we're gonna go with the night. I went to bed. I was upset with Charlie. We had gotten into a little disagreement, and then I guess
That's
I'm
when-
gonna jump into here.
Well, what happened was I was chilling, right. I was watching TV. I was watching TV in the living room, and my little brother was at my cousin Raul Garcia's house, and so he was over there, and Chepo was out of town, so I was by myself, and I was just watching TV. And my dad took a shower. My dad always had this like tendency to always, when he came out of the shower, he had his hair slicked back. He was in his boxers or like boxer briefs or whatever, and then he always had a towel over his shoulder. And I was sitting there watching TV, so he comes out and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" And I was like, "Well, just here." And he was like, "What are you gonna do?" What? And I said, "No, I'm just gonna chill, play video games, or something. I don't know, by myself, you know what I mean?" So he was like, "Come on." So he took out. I remember he told me to go to the kitchen with him, and he took out this box, and I remember thinking to myself, like, "Man, wonder what is it or what?" And it was Domino's. I never played it before, so it was a pretty fun night. Long story short, I guess pretty much is we played dominoes for a while. He was teaching me how to play. Obviously, I didn't know what I was doing, so I would like have a lot of dominoes or something. And he was like, "You gotta have something." Like, I think it was like a pair. I don't remember what it was. And he was like, "You gotta have some. You have all those dominoes. How you not have one?" And I was like, "I don't have one, Dad. Like, I don't know I don't even know what I'm doing." Like, he's like, "Let me see. I'm not gonna cheat. I just need to see." He goes, "There's one right there." He's like, "There's another one." There was like about 5 of them. He's like, "Gosh." He started laughing, and I started laughing. I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." He's like, "Man, you're lucky." He's like, "You're lucky we're not in the Western times. If we were in the Western times, I would have shot you already." I just started laughing, like, "You gonna shoot your son?" Like, over a game of dominoes. And then, but yeah, we finished playing the game, and then I wanted to ask him to play one more. I was tempted to tell him, like, "Hey, Dad, like, let's can we do one more? Because now I know how to play." But I was like, "Nah, like, it's cool." In my head, I was like, "I know he's gotta wake up early. I'm sure he's tired." He tried to play with me for a little bit. I let him go to sleep, right? So he went. I remember he went to the restroom again to go do something. I was sitting in the living room. He came out, and I was watching the TV, and he stuck his hand out, like, I don't know if you can see or not, but like this, like he stuck his hand out to give me a high five, and I high-fived him, and he told me good night. I said, "Love me, love you." I said, "Love you too." And then he went into the room, and then that was it. And then we had a dog named Prince, and he was barking at somebody or something. And I remember I told him, I said, "Hey, Dad," I said, "Prince is barking at somebody or something like that." And he's like, time up. I said, "Okay." And that was the last thing my dad ever told me. That was it. When he went to sleep, and the next day all that stuff happened. I don't know if you want me to get into it or you want me to go mom first.
So then the next morning, of course, he came to bed, and the next morning, Charlie had a habit of getting up every morning, and he would always say this thing about ya me voy. And that morning, of course, he said, ya me voy. And I would say, vienes para atrás. And he would always say, y tú te quedas. It was a repetitive thing, every morning. Vienes para atrás y tú te quedas. Before we would go to bed, it was very hard for us because before we would go to bed, when he came back from this retreat, he always said that my heart wasn't my heart anymore and his heart wasn't his heart anymore. We had exchanged hearts. That's how much we felt each other. So every night he would place his hand on my heart, and if I was mad, which was I was upset that night, he still grabbed my hand and put it on his heart, and he said, "El mío es el tuyo, y el tuyo es el mío," and that was something that's on our headstone right now. He got up and I had his thing about always packing his lunch, and it was in the refrigerator because I didn't want to get up too early, and then I would always have his clothes ready for the next day of work. And I remember he was wearing. I pulled out a black of old high. What are they? Tommy High figures. And a blue. It was no. It was jeans. They were dark black jeans, and then he was wearing a checkered blue shirt with red stripes and stuff. And we were struggling so bad, guys, that he didn't have a pair of boots. And years before, I had surprised him with a Harley bike, and I had bought him some Harley boots. And that day, he told me, "I gotta wear boots, Ma, because the old ones have holes, and I can't wear them anymore. It gets wet, everything." So he told me he was gonna wear the Harley Davidson boots. And they were heavy, biker boots, and he wore them that day. And I heard him in the kitchen, and I heard him always pray in the kitchen, and I heard him say that, "Take care of me," and he would say this prayer. And till this day, I know what it is. I've told the boys, "Señor Jesús, me presento a ti tal como soy. Te pido perdón por mis pecados. Me arrepiento de Dios. Perdóname." And at the end of that prayer, he would always say, "Cuídame a mí, a mis hijos y a mi esposa." And he would always say, "Si les va a pasar algo, que me pase a mí." He would always exchange whatever was going to happen between us, to him. He would always take it. And I remember hearing him say that because it was something that he would say every morning. He left to work, and of course, I went to the bank, and I used to work the drive-thru. He called me about 9:30 in the morning, and I was at the drive-thru, and you're consistently working with customers, and I picked up the phone, and he said, "Hey, Mom, I'm calling to tell you that I'm sorry for the way I was behaving the night before." And I said, "I knew you'd be, and then he said, "I have some good news to tell you, but I'll tell you this afternoon when you make tacos." His way of telling me what he wanted for dinner was, he would say it like that. I mean, we never even talked about tacos, but he said, "You said you were going to make tacos." So it was his way of telling me, "You're going to make tacos tonight." So I said, "Okay." He had some good news that he wanted to share with me, but he wanted to share it at tacos. We hung up, and I remember he said he loved me, and I was still upset. I didn't say it back. And you live with this stuff for the rest of your life. So we had to count our drive-through boxes at 2:00 in the afternoon every day. And I remember it was about maybe 1:30. I hadn't counted my box yet. It was just to make sure that we balanced throughout the day. We don't do that anymore. So I remember looking back, and I saw the secretary for Stockman's National Bank there telling me that I needed to lock my box, leave everything, and come to the front of the front of the bank. And I remember I said, "What's happened?" And she said there was an accident, and come this way so that they could tell me what was going on. At that moment, they pulled me out to the back. I went into Mr. Northcutt's office, and he was on the phone, and he was red. Noelia was my supervisor. She pulled me out. They said they're gonna come and pick you up. There was an accident with your husband, and they're gonna come and pick you up. I remember that day I was wearing a pair of white capris and a purple flowered shirt, and I wore contacts that day. And I went out. I was like, well, who's gonna come pick me up? I had no idea what was going on. They just told me there was an accident, but nobody was saying. I just Now you look back, you see everybody's reaction. I was like, he was red, she was crying, this one was crying. Why is everybody crying? But nobody was telling me anything. So I stepped outside the front of the bank, and Mr. Crisp and Miss Crisp were there, and he had a blue truck. I remember the blue truck. And Norma, my sister-in-law, got there. Noelia got there. No, Norma told me that she had the boys. Don't worry, I got your boys. Go do what you got to do, and this and that. And I hugged Noelia, and I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. Miss Chris got off and grabbed my hand, and she said, there's been an accident. We're going to take you over there, and this and that. I had hope, all that gave me hope, because nobody told me that he had passed. They just said there was an accident. All I kept thinking about was that he ran out of the road, or he got hit by another semi, stuff like that. And they didn't tell me what was going on. So I went to the back. I sat in the back of the Mr. Crisp's truck, and I remember looking down, and he had a water bottle, and I remember taking my contacts off and putting them in that water bottle, because I wanted to, if Charlie was bad, or if I could see Charlie in the hospital, that I wanted him to see my eyes, my face, me. And Miss Chris jumped in the back with me, and she started praying with me, and she just said, God is good. It doesn't look good, but God is good, And I said, yes, yes he is, yes he is. And they drove me. They drove me towards the prison on, what is that? It's way over there by the prison system, going towards McMullen County. It felt like forever. Yeah, it's like we went through the Billy Goat, all that down there, and it took forever. It felt like forever. And all this time I'm in the back seat, looking up, looking for Air Life, I have no idea. I thought they were taking me to the hospital. I had no idea. But I could hear Mr. Crisp on the phone, He was discussing something with somebody on the phone. My mind was, what's going on? I was really confused. We drove a good ways, and right there where you cross the McMullen County, which I'll never forget, I've taken my kids over there. There's a sign that says McMullen County. McMullen County, is that what it is? To the left side, there's a dirt road that was going in there, and I think that's the Briscoe Ranch in there. They turned there, and they took me in there another 15 minutes. On our way over there, we bumped into the ambulance people. And I just remember Mr. Chris rolling down the window saying, you're looking for so-and-so, and follow this way. So they were actually out there before we were, but they couldn't find it. So I'm assuming they followed us in there, because we drove up, and it was a caliche pit. And I don't know much. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Throughout the years, I've learned to block things out, because it took me a long time to get over things like that. And but I speak of it because I want y'all to know that you can get through it. So I drove up, and I remember seeing his truck with the door open, and I could see it from here to a distance. That's all I kept looking at. I said, well, the truck's there. What do you mean there was an accident? I can see his truck. It's just the door's open. I tried to open the doors, and I couldn't open the doors, so I guess they had it on safety lock. I don't know. But I saw Russell Chris come and open the door to my left side, and Charlie's truck was parked towards the front. I remember he opened the door, and I got off, and I looked at him, and I just said, Russell, where's Charlie? And he took his hat off, and he was crying. And I said, Russell, where's Charlie? And in his hand, he had his wallet. And I said, Russell, where's Charlie? And I remember I looked back and I looked at the truck again. And he just kept saying he was sorry. And I went towards the front, towards his truck. And I started running towards the truck. I had no idea that there was a tractor next to the truck. I was so focused on the truck that I looked to the side, and there he was. All I could see was his legs. He was laying on his stomach. I saw one hand out. He was already covered. But I knew it was him because of his pants. And I knew it was him because of the Harley Davidson boots. Facing me were the logo of the Harley Davidson boots. And I remember my legs got so heavy. I fell to my knees. I couldn't even talk. I remember the ambulance people grabbing me from the shoulders. And they told me they didn't want me to see him like that. All I kept thinking about was, get up, get up. But he wouldn't move. I turned around and I ran. I ran the opposite way and I threw my hands in the air. And I made a fist and I said, why? Why? I was so mad. So mad at God. It's kind of like when you saw the Vamba and you see Bob get on the bridge and he says, Richie. That was me. That was me. It's a pain that you can't describe. And then I thought about my boys. Who's telling them? Do they know? What happened? I couldn't get any answers. I just couldn't believe that it was him there. They wouldn't let me get close to him. So I just remember telling people to leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Take me to my boys. Take me to my boys. I remember that they called one of y'all. They called y'all, I think. I don't remember details because I lost it. I lost it. I didn't know. People till this day tell me they went to my house to see me because my body was shutting down. I stopped eating. I stopped doing everything and no food, no, I wasn't myself. But I don't remember. I don't remember who they are. Mr. Crisp and Miss Chris brought me back. I remember telling them to pick his body up. Pick him up, pick him up. It was July 14th. It was super hot that day. And I just kept saying for them to pick him up, pick him up, pick him up. I kept looking at pick him up. Get him out of there. It's hot. Here I was trying to get him out of the sun. But they told me they couldn't because they were waiting for the JP to come and pronounce him deceased. And that's when it hit me. Everything just went crazy for me. They brought me back to Cotulla. Yes. We drove up to Cotulla and I ended up heading out to the boys' grandma. That's where they dropped me off. And I remember seeing all the cars parked there at Emma's house. And the boys met me outside.
And that's where we're going to come in. You want to give your mic to us, Emma? So, what happened, that's my mom's side because she was obviously at work. Me and my brother were obviously here at the house. My little brother was at his... Who was he at?
He was at
his cousin's house. And like I said, I wish he would be here, man, but he's going through a lot with all this. And this is pretty hard to talk about, but we're talking about this, guys, because we're just trying to help somebody out, okay? Hope it impacts people, but if not, just know that, this is our story. But so that day, I was working. I took off Saturday to San Antonio. Remember I told you about the $100 he gave me, so I took off to San Antonio, and I was like doing fantasy football or something like that with Mike and all them. It was nothing big, but I was doing stuff like that, and then I came back Monday evening, but that was already at work that Monday. So when I got back, I took off to the prison in Internal from 5 to 5, I believe it was. So from 5 in the evening to 5 in the morning, which ends up being Tuesday morning, I got back. And I think I already spoke about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and relive it again. I got back at 5 in the morning. I take off from Internal. I got back. It literally was like 6 or 7. These guys were at school already. My dad takes off at work about 5 o'clock in the morning. So when I got back Tuesday after working 12-hour shift, he was already gone. We were training. Me and my uncle Jacob were already training for to fight, on the boxing fight, and I got back and I immediately ran to the track and to go run about 2 miles, 3 miles. I don't remember what it was. And when I got back, that's whenever I took a shower, and my mom would have her room full of foil paper so that it get real dark. Because by then it was like 8, 7:30. You guys were at school, so about 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah. So, oh no. Yeah, you guys were asleep. I'm sorry, you guys were asleep. Well, you were asleep. Yeah, you were asleep. But it was like 8 o'clock already, so he was still asleep, and it was already getting daylight. So I remember I laid down. I remember I laid down on my stomach, and I remember I had a razor phone and it rang, and I used to have that. That's my job song, and it said Dado was calling me. I used to call him Dado, and I remember I looked at it and I said, I'll talk to him later. It's already late, and I gotta wake up in a couple hours to go back to work again. And I put silent, and then I woke up, and then Isaiah will talk, and then we're all left off.
Yeah. So kind of picking up off of like what happened when my dad went to sleep that night. So that was the last time I saw him. But that night when I went to sleep, I had a dream that my mom actually passed away. I had a dream that night that the bank got robbed, and my mom, being a hero, she tried to do something or save somebody or something like that, and she ended up getting killed. And I just remember these guys weren't there, but I remember like we just found out the news, and then I remember my dad was laying down, just like the way I told you he was, like in the towel and everything. But he was laying down on my mom's side because he slept on the right side. Well, he slept on the right side, right?
Dad slept on the left.
I mean, the left, yeah, on the left, and then yeah, well, opposite side. So I remember he was laying on her side, and I, for some reason, I was laying on like sideways, but on top of him, and I was telling him like, "Dad, where's mom?" I was like, "Where's mommy? I miss mommy." And I kept touching his face, but he had a beard, not like, wasn't as deep as mine. It was more like Pico's, like
Mine.
like Chips, yeah, pretty much. But he had it all like here, like he needed to shave. That's how it was. And I kept touching it, and I just kept telling him that I miss mommy. Where's mommy? And I miss mommy. And he kept saying, "I know, son. I know, mijo." He's like, "I know." He was trying not to cry, but like I could see the water in his eyes and the tears in his eyes, and he was just telling me, "I know." And then I woke up crying because I thought my mom died. So when I woke up like devastated. Went to go wash my face and stuff, whatever, brush my teeth. Then I remember watching TV. I was all into it because that song "Birthday Sex" that just came out or something like that. So Jeremiah was playing it live on a show, and I was trying to like stop myself from crying because I was still pretty like sad, and I just was really sad for some reason. And then I heard a knock on the door, and I believe it was Norma or Wala. I'm not really too sure. I think it was my tio Wala. I think I'm not too sure. I just remember they told me they're like, "Hey, where's your brother? You guys need to get dressed. Your dad got into an accident. We need to take you guys." And I was like, "Oh, let me go wake up Chepa." So I went, and Chepa like jumped out of the bed super quick. And I remember he was like, "What's going on? Like, what's happening?" So Walla came inside. And I remember Walla told Chep, like, "Hey, your dad was in an accident. You need to get ready. You guys need to get dressed, whatever, this and that." And then I don't know if you want to go from there. Or,
Yeah, Walla came in. He Chip, because I think you tried waking me up, and I was
yeah.
real tight because I had just gone to bed. It was 9 o'clock, right?
Like a
9
dream
or 10.
for you, yeah.
About 2 hours in sleeping, I was like,
It was
out.
like 12. Like,
Yeah.
The accident happened around 1:30.
Oh, okay, so then it was already getting late. I don't know, but it was like it just seemed like I
1 or
laid
2,
down. But I remember they came in, they were like trying to wake me up, and I don't think you could wake me up. So while I came in, I remember he's like, Chepa, get up. Hey, boys, you need to get up, or your dad was in an accident. And I remember when I got off the bed, I was like, Dad, man, what'd you do now, man? Because my dad was always like real like fast, right? Like he always wanted to get stuff done quick. My dad was like, oh my bad. My dad was always like, hey, You know, like he'd work fast. My dad was like he was no pushover. You want to get the job done. We did the roof one time, and he's like, let's go. And when that happened, they told me, I was like, oh man, dude, we like mind you, you just took my check because we were struggling, and now you guys telling me you're in another accident. So yeah, I was a little upset. I was like, what'd you do now, man? Of course, I'm thinking this in my head because he wasn't there. So I went to go brush my teeth, get ready, you know, and get dressed, and then we got in the car with Walla, me, Isaiah, Walla, and Normal. I remember it was a truck, right? It was a black truck.
Yeah, it was their truck. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. I think it was a black one.
the
The
black truck.
GMC,
Yeah.
I think. Or
Walla
something.
was driving. Normal was on the passenger side. Me and Isaiah were in the back. I was behind Walla, and Isaiah was behind Normal.
No,
And then,
no. Walla, Norma was on the passenger. You were behind Norma. I was behind Walla.
oh yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. And then we took off and we went to,
Then we went to go pick up Grandma Emma.
yeah.
We went to go pick up my grandma Emma. We told her, my dad was in an accident. She was already, kind of freaking out a little bit. And I remember from there, she was in the middle. I was on her left side. Chep was on the right, and we started taking off. And we were like, "Where's Elijah?" So he's at Rolitos.
When Grandma got in the car, she was like, qué pasó, conmigo? What's going on?"
Yeah.
Like she knew, like
Something was
she
going
could
on.
tell, like it was weird, man. She like her vibe kind of like made me
felt
worry.
it.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, like
I just remember we were supposed to go pick up Elijah, and I remember we ended up going to pick
Oh.
up Grandma Chavela.
because we saw her right here.
Okay.
Yeah, we were going that way to pick up Elijah, and
Sure.
Grandma Chavela and Jesse came
Yeah.
by here, and then they stopped. They say hi to Norma, like they were kind of weighing us down,
Yeah.
and then they told us to go pick them up or do something over there because Walla ended up going to Grandma Chavela's house.
Yeah, we were on the way to Grandma Chavela's house when we got the call.
and
I
then
remember,
and then Walla got the call.
yeah.
We were driving. Ah, man, this is pretty rough. And we go for it, man.
I just remember my grandma Emma was in the back seat the whole time, the whole drive. I could hear her breathing. She was very nervous, and she just kept praying, like she was in a full prayer mode. And I remember we were kind of on that like dirt road going to my grandma Chavela's, and my tío Wala gets a call. I just remember him saying hello, and then he was like yeah, something like that. He's like, ¿Qué? What? And he was like, no, like I remember he just broke like no. And he put the phone like that, and I remember Norma was like, Wala, like she kept freaking out. She was asking Wala like, what happened? Like, ¿Qué pasó? Like, what happened, Wala? And this and that, and tell me. And so he took the phone, and she was like, Frankie, like, what's going on? What happened? And this and that. And she started crying, and she was like, no. And then I remember Wala turned around, and then me, Chepa, and my grandma were just real quiet. And my tío Wala turned around, and he said, hey boys, he said, I'm sorry, you don't have a dad anymore, or your dad
He
passed
said
away.
your dad didn't make it.
Yeah. And
He said your dad didn't make it, and
I'm sorry, guys, this was real hard. But
I just remember Grandma just cried
she hit her knees, and
like a. I've never heard old woman like that cry, and
she just yelled, and she said, not my Charlie, not my Charlie.
I just remember looking at Isaiah, and Isaiah was just staring at me, and I just remember he was just like, we both didn't say anything, we both didn't even cry, we were just like, what?
Like, what's going on? It's because my dad was Superman, and I remember I started crying, and I just remember saying, not my dad, like, he's Superman, like, he can't die. And we got to my grandma's, and we were just crying. And my tío Wala got off when he told Jesse and my grandma. And Jesse came, and I remember he hugged me real tight. And he just told me, sorry. And he hugged me and said he loved me. And that he was going to take care of us. And just went and hugged Chepa the same way. And I just remember looking at Chepa, and I remember he had a...
I still didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I said no. He just. Oh. Sorry.
That's all right.
He said, I just remember saying, no, he's lost. He's not dead. He's lost. My dad can't die. And I just said, he's going to find his way back. He's going to find his way back. And I didn't cry. He didn't cry. And then I remember we said, let's go get Elijah, right? We were talking about getting Elijah.
So we went, and I remember I got off, and I went running to the door, and I knocked on him like crazy. And Elijah, I had remembered something differently, but Elijah just told me that before this we were talking, and he told me pretty much what happened. But that's why I wanted him here that he could speak. But pretty much him and they were hanging out, and I remember I told Elijah, like, we gotta go. Dad was in an accident. dad was in a real bad accident. We gotta go, and I didn't want to say it in front of them. And I picked him up, and I remember I just carried him, and when we got in the car, I don't remember who told him or what. I can't really remember too much from that. I
Yeah.
kind of blanked out. I just remember we ended up at my grandma
He
Emma's
cried.
house.
Dad just cried immediately. I remember
I
that.
don't remember. I just
Yeah.
remember we were there, and I remember us three sat on the couch, and we had, I think, my dad's picture, and just had a lot of people there coming by, and it was real difficult. And I just remember one thing that stuck with me. Sorry,
Yeah.
one thing that stuck with me is that when all that was happening, I mean, we were all devastated, right? And I remember Chep was like telling us, "Don't worry, guys. Like, I'm gonna take care of you guys." And he said, you know, I'm gonna step up, and I'm gonna be there for you. I'm not your dad, but I got you guys. Ever since that day, he has. So I love my brother a lot.
When we went to grandma's house, that's when it hit me that this is real. And we got there, and of course everybody greets you and tells you everything's gonna be okay, but they don't really know. And then after a while, it was like really wow, like my dad died. And then mom gets there, and that's when it hit me too. Because I went to when they told me your mom's outside, your mom's outside, and I remember I went to go greet her, and she said they took him from me. They took him from me, and she fell down, and like it's even then I still had to stay strong because I said somebody's got to step up. Dad always told us we have to stay as a family that prays together, stays together, and I said I gotta step up, and
So we went inside, and reality hit me. This is real. I didn't want to let go of my babies. I've been here before. Saw my mom go through the same thing. My mom lost my dad, and I remember reliving the whole thing. But this time I was the mom. I remember walking in, and everybody was crying. They called me, and the phone rang at my mother-in-law's, and they asked me, they needed to speak to me, and it was Mr. Peters, the funeral home director. And I remember I picked up the phone. My mother-in-law had a hallway going towards her room, and I was on the phone, and I forgot to mention this. That Sunday, my Charlie passed away on Tuesday. The Sunday of that week before he passed, we had discussed because something happened, and he had told me that he didn't want, if anything were to happen to us, that he didn't want to be viewed. He wanted people to remember him with this big smile.
Yeah, right. That smile right there.
And I remember I told him the same thing. So we had decided that if anything were to ever happen to either one of us, that we weren't going to be viewed. We wanted y'all to remember us the last time you saw us. And we're pretty much funny people. I'm always making jokes and stuff. I guess I picked that up from him. And he was always, you heard Frankie's podcast saying that he was a jokester, always saying jokes and stuff. But when they called me from the Peters Funeral Home, I remember that he told me, Priscilla, this is Lee Peters. I mean, what's his name? Whatever, Mr. Peters from the director of the funeral home. I won't be able to do anything for Charlie. I'm gonna have to send him. I need your permission to send him to Laredo because I had a stroke and I can't do the stuff for him. And I said, I want to talk to you about that because Charlie and I had just discussed this, and we had gone to see his dad at the funeral, and he was like, I don't know if it's something that he was like having a premonition.
I think it was.
But we went to the cemetery that Sunday. We spoke about it. That's why it came up, because we went to the cemetery that Sunday.
That I don't mean to interrupt you, Mom.
Yeah.
But that Sunday as well, him and my tío Wala, they were drinking out here in the backyard, and I remember I always wanted them to just be around my dad, and I remember they were drinking, so my dad let me actually hang out, so I was with them And I was with them hanging out, and they were drinking. I remember my dad was getting drunk, and and I remember his eyes were like this, like they were squinting, like from how like he was trying to like he was. You could tell he was drunk, had hiccups, and so my tío Wale left, and they were just talking about stories. I remember they were asking me about football and everything, asking me, like, because I was gonna be a freshman that year, and well, we ended up Wale left, and then my dad was like, "Mijo, can you help me pick up the beers?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad." So I started helping him pick up the bottles, and I remember we went to go throw them in the trash, and when we threw them in the trash, I told him, I said, "Hey, Dad." I was like, "Hey, Dad." He was like, "What's up?" I was like, "I love you, man." He was like, he looked at me, and I remember he looked at me. He said, "I love you too." He's like, "Why you tell me that?" I said, "Because, Dad." I was like, "You just never know, man. So you might not come home one day, and in case you don't, I just want you to know that I love you, and I thank you." And he looked at me. He said, "Boy, I'm always gonna come home. Don't you worry about that." He hugged me. He said,
This was all within the week before
that was
he,
Sunday.
yeah,
That was that
the week
Sunday.
before he passed.
And then he said that he was going to grandma's house.
And then Grandma Emma said that he was. What did they say?
That he
Jacob
would,
said
he would go every day to grandma's house like the whole week.
he'd make it a point to go every
Every day.
single
And I
day.
asked grandma because now grandma's getting a little up in age, man, and she's starting to forget a lot of these guys. 'Cause, this is why another reason why we're doing this, man, because you know we're all gonna go that way one day, and it's just something to keep memory about. But grandma would always tell me. 'Cause I remember she told me that I would ask her, Grandma, what would you talk about? If you don't mind me asking, she's like, oh, mijo, me and your dad had stories. Like, we would just talk about when he was young, how his dad would always take care of him, and the quicksand, that he almost got in quicksand, and then how Grandpa Pancho how Grandpa Pancho got mad because I broke his tree that's over there that's now bigger now, and it was just stories she would say. We talk about everything, man, so, but yeah.
That Sunday, we went to the cemetery, and one thing about Charlie is that he always kept up with the cemetery, his dad's gravesite. And that day, we were with Emma and everybody, the boys, and we were cleaning around. He would always get the boys to clean around. And he said, I don't know if he said it jokingly, but he said it. He goes, when I leave, I want to be buried right here next to my dad. And I looked at him, and Emma goes, no digas eso, and all this. But she mentioned to us that those two plots right next to Pancho were Frankie's and Sissy's. They had already bought them. And Charlie goes, I don't care. I want to be right here next to my dad and this and that. The accident happened Tuesday. He spoke about this Sunday and then Tuesday. So anyways, going back to the phone call, I told Mr. Peters, I need to discuss with you what me and him had discussed that Sunday night, that he didn't want to be viewed. He wanted to be remembered by his smile. And at that moment, I remember Mr. Peters saying, Priscilla, he's not going to be viewable anyways. You do know what happened. Well, I knew there was an accident, but I didn't know the extent because he was already covered. But I said, no, what happened? So when he explained to me that Charlie's head was crushed by the tire of the front loader, that's when I lost it. I can't even tell you what I was going through at that moment. I was told that I ran to Emma's bed and I laid there and kicked and screamed. Somebody came to give me an injection to calm me down. I remember that I got up and I said that I wanted to go home because I knew his clothes was still in the hamper at home and I wanted to go home. And my mom followed me to the house. And I went straight to the laundry room, to the restroom, and pulled his clothes out of the hamper. He had a blue shirt the day before to work he always wanted a shirt that had his name here and we couldn't afford it. So I started stitching it and sewing it with the Carlos with just thread, and I only got the C because I didn't know how. So he wore that one, and I took it out and I put it. I wouldn't let it go. I think they say that I had it with me throughout the whole
I think you
time.
if I remember correctly. Did you put it like on a pillow? You would sleep with it.
Many, even the Kansas State shirt was.
When it gets closer, I'm sorry guys, technical difficulties game slacker on my end, but we might have to take it off and charge it. But anyways, because Isaiah doesn't come down that much, and my mom, we decided to do it. But man, for a long time, guys, it was hard. It was really rough, man. She was going through a lot. My mom
I
was.
gave up on life.
She
I
did.
stopped eating.
You want me to talk about that, Mom? Or you want
Yes, we're gonna go into what happened. I stopped eating. I stopped. I didn't even think about the boys. Um, Wednesday. The accident was Tuesday. I remember Wednesday. I wrote a letter. I wanted to take my life. I wanted to go find him. I was angry at everything, everybody, like I said before. I was so angry that I lost my father at the age that my youngest was, and I lost my husband, who was my best friend, my protector, my counselor, my teacher. He taught me how to read because I left school when I was a freshman. I didn't know how to read. He taught me everything I knew, how to ride a bike, how to ride standard. He taught me how to do everything, become the woman that I am today. I I didn't know how to function. I didn't know how to function, guys. Um so I thought about taking my life and looking for him. That's all I kept thinking about. I wanted to be with him. I wanted to be with him. And now I hear there's such things as people dying out of a broken heart. I'm just surprised God didn't take me. I guess he knew that the boys needed me. So I had contemplated taking my life. I picked out my dress. I asked my brother, whom I thought would help me. I said, "Get me some drugs. Get me something that's going to help me fall asleep and never wake up." And I guess he knocked on me because everybody took every single pill from the house away. Nobody would leave me alone. Everybody was there. And I remember one day, I think it was Thursday, because we did the burial on Saturday. Friday and Saturday. I remember Thursday laying down in our bed, and I was laying down on his side, just the way Isaiah would visioned it, being the other way around. And I remember hearing somebody say to me, "Pris, Pris," and it was him. It was his voice. And I remember looking at him, and it was Isaiah sitting right there next to me on the bed. There was 3 people, 4 people in that room that day. It was my bedroom. I think Pastor Rosie was there. My mom was there. Emma was there. And I think it was my sister. I'm not sure. It was Anna, right? They were there. They wouldn't leave me alone. Somebody was always there. But I remember I heard my name, Pris, Pris. And so I got up because the voice changed and it was his voice. And I just remember looking at where the voice was coming from, and it was Isaiah's voice. It was Isaiah standing right beside me, and Isaiah grabbed my hand, and I sat up on the bed, and Isaiah sat right next to me, and he grabbed my hand, and he goes, it's me, Pris, it's me, Chale." And I looked at him, and I go, "Charlie?" And Isaiah would grab me and kiss me, and I looked at him, and I said, "What happened?" And he looked at me, and he said, I wouldn't even let him speak. I just go, "Why? What happened? Did it hurt?" And he said, "It was my time." And then he said, "No, it didn't hurt." I looked down, and then he said, it happened real fast, Ma." And he said, "I woke up and I was in front of the persecutor." And I looked at him, the persecutor, and he said, "Yeah." He started telling God of everything that I've done bad in my life. And I looked down, and he said, but God said, God told the persecutor, "I paid the price for him. He's mine." And I made it, Ma. I'm here. And And we're all gonna be together again. The name's written in the book. You gotta be good, Ma.
You can put the mics down. Just talk a little low.
He said he made it. He said our names are written in the book of life and that we got to get there so we can be together again. Needless to say, while he's telling me all this, I'm looking at Isaiah. But his voice was not Isaiah. Now, he did go into details about the accident, which I don't talk about because I don't like to see it in my head.
Nobody was there, guys, so it's all speculation on what we think happened or what we know happened from our dad.
Yeah, nobody was there. And it was, I have never seen one of those tractors. What are they? Front rear loader, whatever they call.
Yeah.
All I know is the way he described the accident is kind of like makes sense because when I saw him, he was in between the tractor, you know, one tire here and one tire here. It makes sense. He said he ran to stop it because it was rolling down. But Isaiah's more into that because he was speaking through.
I remember a lot of stuff because what happened was that day. I remember my mom had already talked to me about she was gonna kill herself. My mom, keep in mind, guys, my mom was out of it. She hadn't eaten, she hadn't drinking anything. My mom, in her mind at the time, thought that my dad didn't make it into heaven or something, and she thought if she killed herself. I remember her telling me, if he's in hell, we'll burn together. I'll find him. I know he'll protect me, and even if he can't, at least we'll suffer together. That's the kind of love that they had. And I remember she told me, that night that she was going to kill herself, and for me to be strong, be there for my brothers, and that everything's going to be okay, and that we were going to have 2 guardian angels, and that we weren't going to suffer, and that we were going to listen to Chepa and to do what he says and all this stuff. And I remember crying. And the next day, my mom was getting worse. She was kind of deteriorating. And I don't know why, I just felt this like just overwhelming feeling. It's something you can believe me or you cannot. I really don't care. But something pulled me in and said, go to your mom's room. So I went. I told everybody to get out. I said, oh, y'all need to get out. Everybody get out. So everybody got out. I sat there on the bed. I told my mom, Pris, I just remember when I got there, when I sat on the bed, it's like I pulled myself from my body, or like something pulled me, and I pulled out and I was up. So I was above myself, watching myself, but it wasn't me. It was my dad sitting there. She saw me, but I saw him from where I was standing, from where I was floating, like as if I had like no control of my soul, like I was out of my own body. And I remember just looking down, seeing his hair, and I remember thinking to myself, that's my dad talking to my mom. Mm-hmm. And I remember him talking to her, everything my mom said right now, everything like that. And I remember, they kissed, they hugged and all this stuff. And I remember just looking like as if I was a camera, just watching everything. And I remember, do you want me to get into detail about it, Mom? Or
It's up to you.
Well, pretty much what happened, what he said, and I know specifically because I was there in that room, and I was there when my dad got prosecuted, when my dad got judged. What happened when he passed? How it happened was he was working. He got off of the tractor, the front loader. He got off, and I remember he said that he heard it rolling back. He heard a noise, so he looked back because he had left it up, something like that, and he saw it rolling back, and there was a hole where they were digging that caliche. So he thought instantly, like, well, you gotta stop it because now it's gonna fall, it's gonna cost money, all that stuff. So he ran to it, tried to get on the tractor, landed the first step and the second step, because it's like 2 steps, and it's then you get on the seat and stuff. So the second step, he kicked like the edge of it, like here, like his foot hit this, and it kicked this leg, and so he fell forward. And when he fell forward, that's how the tire ran over his head, and he just blacked out. He didn't feel any pain. It just real quick, like boom, he just blacked out. And what I remember is that he was like in a courtroom pretty much, but there was nobody there. It was just him sitting on his knees. And I remember looking at him, and there was this man. I don't remember his face. And then the man who was the judge, I couldn't see him, but his aura was just completely different. And the guy, which I'm assuming was the devil, was telling God every single thing my dad has done wrong in his entire life. I'm talking about from when he was a kid, everything he intended to do, everything he didn't do, every single bad deed he did, every bad thought he had, every single thing that he could think of. I'm talking about every single thing, that things my dad forgot that he did or even thought of or said. Going and going. I remember he was so angry, like so like I just want him. Like he was so like an animal that wants to get released, and he had like foam, like he was salivating at the mouth, like when you haven't eaten and they have a big old pizza like in front of you, and you're like, oh my god, like he was just like I can't explain the desire, that passion, the desire. Like it was a love, like a hate for love, like a love for hate. Like he wanted my dad so bad. He told God every single thing. There wasn't a thing my dad couldn't hide from him. And I remember my dad looked down and he was there and he started crying. And I remember he was scared. And I remember my dad was scared. He was terrified. Like how we got whenever my dad got home. Like he was shaking. Like he was scared because he knew in his head, I'm gonna go to hell. I'm gonna suffer. Like I'm gonna burn for the rest of my life. Like he was terrified of what was to come. And I remember he was so scared. He couldn't. He just was. I remember he was crying. He was scared. And God sat there and God said, I remember I couldn't see him, but I can't hear him either. But I knew what he was saying. And he said, "You're right. He did all that. He did all that." And he said, "You're right." And he said, and God said, "But I know his heart, and his heart is pure, and his heart is mine." He said, "He's mine." And when he said it, the devil screamed like my mom screamed. Like, no, like loud, like a big old roar. Like, how is he yours? He's mine. He's mine. He's mine. He's mine. And just kept screaming, he's mine. He's mine. Just and he did all this. How is he yours? And I just remember my God. I don't know how what he picked up my dad, and I just remember from there. I think he went in with him. I don't remember too much after that, but I just remember that's how I knew. That's how I have my peace. That's why I'm okay. Yes, I cry because I'm sad. It hurts. But I know my dad is where he's at because I feel like I know for a fact I got to witness it. Like I said, whether you believe me or not,
You witnessed it,
that's
but
what I saw.
you also spoke it because that's how I knew what you were actually seeing because that's what you were telling me.
And a lot of you guys might not believe this or whatever, but at the,
It
end,
saved
at the end of the day, it saved us. Yeah.
It saved me.
Whatever.
I was going to take my life that following day,
and it may have not been real or whatever you guys want to think, but at the end of the day, it saved us and it made us better.
Yep.
You know, and we had a lot that happened.
it
man.
gave us confirmation where he went.
Yeah.
And when I got the confirmation that I knew where he was and that we have a loving, forgiving God that paid the price for our sins, the persecutor is going to make you out to be the worst thing in your life. Like Isaiah said, he brings up stuff about your past.
Man, things you forget. Man.
But God knows the measures of the heart. And that's what you get judged for. And regardless if you want to believe it or not, it saved my life. I got up that day after I talked to him. I got up. I tried to eat.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat because my stomach was shutting. I was bleeding everywhere, guys. My nose would bleed everywhere. Everywhere. They took me to the doctor that following day. They gave me a shot. They gave me medication. We went to the funeral. We took care of everything. Grandma Emma got to go see him at the funeral home. I didn't.
And Jacob.
Yeah, I couldn't. I had already seen what I saw, and it was enough to cause a lot of damage.
They gave us an option because we were older.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was they gave you an option, but they gave me an option.
They didn't give me.
They said because I was 22, and I wanted to, only because I wanted to see his hands. I wanted to see the hands that I would hold. We would work out together. I knew they weren't gonna let me see his face because they had told Mom that he was unrecognizable. They crushed his skull. So I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see that. This is what I want to remember. That picture right there. And my dad was a handsome man, very handsome man. And that's what people say. I look like him. I'm like, well, thank you. But I just remember I wanted to, but my mom said no. And I listened to my mom because she had went through it before, and she said what it would do to me psychologically. And, you know, I would have just loved to have grabbed his hands, but then I probably would have wanted to see it more. So
Emma did because she said she was the one that brought him into the world, and she wanted to make sure she held her son before. Like it was her way of acknowledging in her heart that it was true. When my father passed away, guys, I never got to see him. I got to see him in the coffin, but I didn't want to believe that was him. I was so young, you know, and I always thought my dad just had to fake his death, and one day he'll come back and tell me I had to go, you know, I was with the wrong crowd or something. My dad never left. The one that came to replace your dad was your dad. My dad was your dad. And that's why I couldn't believe. And this is very important, guys, because don't take your loved ones for granted. Don't think that you have tomorrow. And when you do have, it's okay to have disagreements. It's okay to have arguments. It's okay. It's natural. It's normal, because you're not perfect. We're all sinners. And I want to make a point. I'm a Catholic Christian. I believe in God. I have a relationship with my Lord, and I'm living today because of Him. If He wouldn't have done and revealed where Charlie was at right now, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have been able to see my grandkids. I wouldn't be here to help them. It's a struggle, but I'm here today. And it's because of the love that God had for me that He had to save me. Save me so that I could be there for them. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't ever think that you can't get out of something so bad like this. God is in control, and He knows what He's doing. He took Charlie at the perfect time. Charlie would always struggle with insecurity, jealousies, all this. The oil boom came after. Can you imagine what I would have gone through? Can you imagine what he would have gone through here? He was already battling, and it's a constant thing. It's not going to change overnight. It's a constant thing. Pobrecito, but me dijía, I failed, Ma. I failed again, Tencele, and I would look at him and say, hey, you acknowledged it. You said you were sorry. Let it go. But back then, era un pleito. No, que ya estoy cansada. No, que tú, que, you know. And it got to the point where we could actually talk about it now.
But all that, Mom, came from you. You're such a good wife. Man, Mom, like, you don't understand how strong a woman, your wife or woman in general in your life plays such a big role, especially when us men that try to fight demons on a daily basis and our generational curses and stuff like that. We have to have a strong woman. Yeah. Like, my brother has a strong wife. Yeah. I have a strong wife. I mean, without our wives here, man, I don't know where we would be at. I don't know what we would be doing.
It reminded me of seeing you grow, man.
Life was hard. I tell people, I tell my daughter-in-laws, you know, I see my sons and I understand sometimes some of the things you go through. They're very blessed that you guys are not physically abusive to them. You know, you're learning because the one role model that you're supposed to be following isn't here anymore. And that's one of the things that my youngest son, like I was saying, it's my youngest, they're supposed to have somebody as a role model to lead them, and they don't have that role model. Chepa had to step in as the leader and be the father figure to my youngest, my two youngest ones. And my youngest one is still having a little bit of a hard time, you know, coping with it. It's been 13 years, and again, if you've never been in our shoes, never walked in our shoes, you will never understand where we come from. What we're here to tell you right now is that if you ever do come to a point where we're at, look at us now. I'm remarried.
I'm married.
He's married. He has his first son.
Baby boy.
He's married. He's got his 4 kids.
I got 4 kids and 2 that I had, but all 4 of them are mine. I adopted my 2 boys, and I still got my hair. Still got my hair. I'm not bald, so we're good.
It's a struggle, guys. I mean,
he's gonna lose it first.
It's not. It's not.
My beard, though.
It's not gonna be easy. Don't ever think it's easy. I have friends that call me, social media, send me message. Hey, my husband passed away. Hey, I reach out to them. I'll leave them messages. I'm here. I pray for them. I have a list in my Bible and I pray for them. You know, I'm a Catholic Christian, like I was saying right now, but my faith in God is what's gotten us here. My purpose in life is to get to where I gotta get to. You can sit here and judge us all you want, but it doesn't matter because when I'm in front of the persecutor again, like he was, and Jesus is there and God is there for me, he's gonna know the measure of my heart. I've done things, I'm not perfect. I'm not holier than anybody else. I'm a simple sinner, just like we are sinners. The difference between being a Catholic Christian is you acknowledge your sins, you ask for forgiveness, and you try not to do it again. I'm not perfect and I don't walk on water.
He who is free of sin,
Cast the first stone.
I don't think nobody will do that. Only Jesus Christ. But let me tell you this, guys. Be ready for the God winks. Because they come in all forms. Till this day,
Still
we
good.
get God winks.
And what we say about God winks is it's kind of like, what do you tell, when you tell your son that you always go like that?
Yeah, as a
That's
matter
what
of
we
fact,
say.
as we were here, I don't know if you guys saw, I looked at you and you weren't looking, you were there, but I was here and I felt something in my hand. And it might not have been anything, but those we consider God winks. The phone calls. When Dad passed away, our phone would ring in the house. We'd answer it and nobody. We'd look at each other and be like, there's a God wink there. You hear, we bought that Challenger, my mom's Challenger that we got, that apparently was supposed to be ours, but it ended up being hers. We went to go, of course, it's kind of personal, but I let a little bit out. But my dad died, my dad passed, wasn't right. So, of course, everybody was saying they're going to take care of us. They're going to take care of us. But for how long? How long are you going to take care of us? And sure enough, after, a year or so? Or
Not even, bro.
Not even
Less
a year.
than that.
Nobody was... I'm talking about, not my family, but talking about people that, for instance, the company he worked for.
Well, some of your families.
Yeah, I was gonna say
some of
family
I'm not
too.
gonna
We're not
sugarcoat
gonna
it.
sugarcoat
I ain't gonna sugarcoat it here.
You know who you are.
So yeah, some of the family members were expected to be there
Yeah.
at the beginning of this whole transition in our lives. Yeah, we could pick up the phone and call everyone and hey, my son's having an issue here because believe me, I had issues. I mean,
going back to his college was hard.
Yeah, Chepa had to go on with his life. This one, I had to have his first graduate. My kids didn't learn. They had to learn on their own how to put air in a tire. They had to learn how to. Dude, we would go under the house and fix water leaks ourselves.
Yeah.
I had to go down there with him with spiders all over us, and he would hear me say, "How did he show me? How did he show me? How did he show me?" These are all the struggles in life that we had to go through by ourselves because nobody came to do it for us. When, like he said, at the beginning, everybody was there. Then everybody was there because we came into the money. Then everybody was like, "Oh, they're stuck up there. They don't want to give us this card."
We got a little lump sum, guys, but at the end of the day, man, it doesn't replace.
Nah, nothing comes close.
I know I speak on me, but I'm pretty sure I can speak on behalf of us four of us with my brother. Is we give all that back up just to have one day with our dad and with our dad, even if it was for a day or two, an hour, just to talk to him. But
it's gonna be hard for people to understand what y'all go through, guys. It really is because, you can sit here and judge me and say, "Oh, I'm a single mom. My kids are in college. They made a good life or whatever." But I guarantee that if I look back at I'm a single mom, I'm doing this, your father helped you, your mother helped you, your uncles helped you, your brothers helped you. I didn't have any of it. I didn't have my mother. I didn't have my brother. I didn't have their uncles. I didn't have anybody to help me. I did it by myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with it because you know what? Like my grandma said, they're my responsibility. It's a cross that I carry and I will take with me.
As a matter of fact, we heard it today at church. Our gospel was like that. It was.
You can't change your cross. You can't
throw it away.
You have to accept your cross. And it's heavy.
And some people don't accept it.
And you know what, guys? It's okay if you fall. How many times did Jesus fall with his cross? Three times. Yeah. 3 times, and he got up.
It was 3 times.
3
they
times.
had dislocated his shoulder too.
Yeah.
But that's why me and Isaiah, we talk a lot, and we always say that our mom is our queen. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we're married and we have a different, our queens. And my wife Nicolette, I love her. I know he has Scotty, he loves her. But my mom, without my mom, man, I don't know what we do, man. And
We wouldn't have made it this far.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I really take my hat out to my mom, and I'm not saying it because she's here, but I tell you all the time, my mom is the backbone of this family. We have what we have because of our mom.
And till this day, guys, I mean, I try to do everything that I can possibly do. I tell my husband, my new husband, your children are blessed. They have their mom, they have their dad, and they have a bonus mom. And I said, my kids don't have anyone. They have me. I do the babysitting. I do the cooking. I'm sick, mom. Ay te voy. Mom, I have an emergency. Ay te voy.
Sometimes we fake it so she can bring us tortillas because if not, then she won't bring it to.
But it's not like I can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Charlie. So my Isaiah's having an issue with the car, or Chepa's truck broke down. I need you to find somebody to fix it." Yeah. I'm by myself, guys, and I'm doing the best that I can. But the reason why I'm telling you this is not because I want to pat myself in the back. It's because I want you to know that you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do the same thing. You don't need anybody but God.
Take our story, guys. Take our stories that we went through, and it was not easy. Mind you, guys, our dad just passed away in July 14, 2009, and our mother was literally on the verge of just committing suicide. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what we went through? I had nobody to tell me what to do anymore. I had no discipline. I was 22 years old. That is, yes, I'm an adult, and I was working at the time, but that's the point of life where I can sway one way and nobody can tell me anything. Who's going to discipline me? He's not. He was 14 at the time. She's my mom. I didn't. Yeah, she was out of it. She didn't even know how to control herself. But I didn't fear her like physically because my mom is a woman. But I respected her. But she would never tell me, "You better behave." I'm gonna get. It didn't scare me like that. So I could have easily turned to drugs. Do the bad stuff, alcohol. But I
those are excuses.
Yeah, and I said I gotta do it for them.
Those are excuses.
I gotta do this for them because they need me now. What kind of man would I be if I turn my back on them when they needed me the most?
But there's a lot of people who do that.
And
they do.
And
but that's to show you that at the end of the day you have your family. And that's
if you can't count on family.
During the hardest time is when you really realize who you really have.
Yeah.
It's when you're at the lowest level of your life.
Mom is right too, dude. Like when we got money, we got our money from our dad's settlement. I don't need to get into detail on all that, but people will come around that we've never even talked to before. Girls,
they literally pulled you off to ask you to help them pay their rent.
Man.
I mean. It got bad. It got to the point where you have to pretend that you don't.
They would think you're stuck up because you wouldn't do that, and it's like no, we would say this. That's our dad's money. Yeah. That's what cost us the father. So I invested in my house. And look at my house. I have a good house and gym, and my brother invested in it too. My mom as well. I mean, that's just what we did. We had something to show for it, man. But y'all got anything left to say?
Just don't forget that. Whenever you go through a tragedy like we have, it's a blow to. I don't know if you've ever gotten hit in the stomach and your air just comes out and you just you can't breathe. The tragedy that happened to us felt like that to me, and like I said, this wasn't my first time; it was my second time, and my mom gave me the strength. If I saw her pull out of it, it gave me the strength after. It took me. Isaiah to speak to his father to give me confirmation. It was the grace of God. It was all by the grace of God. We give God all the glory and honor for that because it was his doing. I believe it. I saw it. I heard it. And I know where he's at. And my goal in life is to get to heaven. I'm not perfect, but I know I have a forgiving God. Yeah. And because I'm going to make it to heaven the day I leave this world, and if this is a video that's seen years from now and I'm gone, I know that my 3 boys know where I'm at. And I want them to reach out to me too. To say, I got to get over there too. My mom's over there waiting for me. My mom and my dad are waiting for me. And when they get there, I want to embrace them with my open arms just the way. I always tell the boys, if I get up there and I don't get to see your dad, I don't get to hold him or touch him, I just want him to know that I made it. Even if I see him from here to, Dilly or whatever from far away, I know his smile is going to be big and I'm just going to wave and say, I'm here. I made it.
His smile's right there.
And that's what I want my kids to know, that they know and they have their confirmation of where I'm going. And because I'm going there, they're gonna keep focusing on the right track. And that's what y'all need to do.
When Dad passed, Mom, I know we ain't got too much time. We've been talking for about an hour and so many minutes now. I think me and Nazia would talk. Maybe even you don't remember, but we would talk and be like, what would Dad would always say? What would he say in his prayer at the very end? He would say what? When Dad would pray his prayer, Lord Jesus, I come before you just as I am. At the very end, and if anything is to
happen to me, to them, that it happened to me.
Me and Isaiah, I believe, or maybe me and you, I don't remember who we talking about. Like, what if one of us? Because Isaiah said they had a dream of Mom passing away before Dad passed.
I did.
And what if something was to happen to you? We would say, if Dad was here, like Dad couldn't function without you. We would always say that Dad would have a hard time dealing without you, and maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm not God, but I know God has a story for us, and this is our story, and I'm accepting it. Whatever it is God has. But in the meantime, I'm going to live my life the best I can to... I think I did a great job with my brothers. My little brother's awesome, but he's just taking this really, really hard, and I have my kids, you know, and you're a reflection of your kids, man. So... I hope our story, I'm going to let him talk, but I hope our story, I'm done talking, guys, but I hope our story impacted anybody and any big brother out there who feels that they got to take over and this and that. Remember, they need you, man. You asked for them. That's what I did. My mom and my dad would always tell me I'm my brother's keeper, my brother's keepers, and I'm their role model. So I made a deal. I could have left. I was 22 years old. I was in the prime of my life, boxing and football, and I could have just left and never came back. Left and came back. But I know they needed me. And I was not going to let them go like that. So yeah, I sacrificed a lot. But you know what? I don't regret nothing. And I'll do it again. I'll do it again in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. But just to let y'all know that...
Your baby brothers and your siblings need you.
And exactly. And I'm following God's plan. And look what happened. I got my retreat. He got his retreat. So, over.
As a middle child stand up. We all know we're the favorites, but now, speaking from my personal experience, not to make it even longer, but when my dad passed too, when I went to high school, my dad had just passed. I was in 8th grade. I was in summer of 8th grade, going to be 9th grade. I was going to be a freshman. My whole freshman sophomore, I got better my junior senior because I started going like to parties and stuff. But my freshman sophomore year, I got bullied a lot, man. I got bullied a lot. People said things to me like, you know, I was a 4-year letterman. I played varsity all 4 years, my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And I had a lot of people tell me, you know, certain people tell me, you know, like, yo, you only got that because your dad passed. They only feel sorry for you. People would bully me. People would make fun of me. People would like just do things, and I would always get into fights. Sometimes I would cry because I was just tired of. I already went through a lot.
So. I never knew about this. If I would have known about it, I would have took care of it. But I never knew about this.
But see, life didn't get easy for me. My wife, her mom passed away. A lot of classmates, everybody was there for her. The same classmates that were there for her, the same ones that made fun of me, gave me a hard time, and they know who they are. But and I addressed and I handled a lot of them too. But I had to do all that on my own. Things didn't get easy for me. So just because something tragic happens in your life, don't think everything's gonna fall into place. Everybody's gonna be super sorry for you and because I got it right away. It wasn't like that. So what I did is I channeled my energy into sports. I found another way instead of going out the wrong way. I could have gone into gangs or drugs. You know, yeah, he's my brother. Yeah, he's probably kicked my butt. But at the end of the day, he's not my dad. He's not my dad. I can use that excuse a million times. That you're not my dad. You're not my dad. I could have gone a whole different way too. But I had an amazing wife who was my best friend at the time. Me and her shared the same experience, and we got through a lot of trials and tribulations together. Because of her, she's my road dog. You know, she's been with me for a while, man. She's been with me she got to see me when I was at my lowest till right now, and I had a lot of same problems my dad had in a sense. Yeah, I didn't abuse her, you know, nothing like that, but I did have my fair share of issues that I had, and she was able to withstand them. She never gave up on me. I don't know why she stayed with me. You know, she loved me, man, unconditionally. It takes a strong woman, and I'm grateful for that. But as a middle child, like I'm trying to say is, don't expect things to get easy. Just keep pushing through. at the end of the day, just remember, like I said, time doesn't heal wounds. You just learn to adapt, and things are gonna get better. You just have to be patient, put in the effort, pray, put God first. If you have brothers or family there, don't be afraid to ask them for help, give them advice, or ask for advice from them. Look up to somebody, even if it's not a family member. If it's an athlete or somebody that you look up to, idolize, look up to them. Just what would they do in those certain situations, and just look to God, pray, keep God first. Remember too, because if you're the middle child, you have somebody else younger than you watching you. So that's something that stuck with me too. Is the same way he did for me, is I try to do the same thing for my baby brother. And I'm not saying I failed or anything like that, but I know he's going through this a little bit different than we did or we are, because you gotta understand too, he was 11, so he was really young. So I mean, I don't know what he went through. I don't know the relationship that him and my dad had. Same way I had my relationship with my dad. People said that I was just consentido, meaning like I was kind of like his favorite. And then my brother had his relationship with him. So we all had different relationships with my dad. So we all deal with it differently. That's my opinion. I think that's the best way to describe it. But just keep praying. Remember that you have somebody looking up to you the same way you look up to somebody. Someone's looking up to you. You have an older brother because you're the middle child like me. Look up to that person. Idolize them. If they're not doing something right, tell them like, "Hey, Chep, I need you, bro. I need you to be there for me because I don't know what to do right now. I'm lost too." And I know I'm sure if you voice that out, don't be afraid to communicate. That's problem in relationships too. You gotta communicate. You gotta discuss what's bothering or what the issue is, because they won't know until you tell them. So don't be afraid to communicate. Seek help. Counseling is. My wife is a counselor. Changed my life. She's my counselor, and I recommend it to everybody. Just find help. Find a way an outlet for you to voice it out and to speak to somebody.
Hey, last thing before we leave, guys. I know I said I was done talking, but I'm talking again.
One more thing.
One more thing. If you were struggling financially, and you don't know who to turn to and all this stuff, Isaiah just said, put point on, look for a counselor. Well, never forget, guys. There's a counselor that you don't gotta pay anything to, and he's always around. He might not talk back. You might not hear him, but he'll hear you. And the sermon that I heard this past weekend says, God always has your back. All you gotta do is cry out. And, it's in His time. So without further ado, guys, it's Chale's Legacy Podcast, episode number 9, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about July 14, 2009. Any last words, Mama?
The Queen.
The Queen.
No, just if we can do it,
Give him
y'all can do it.
my dad's picture.
If we did it,
I think that.
y'all can do it.
Oh my gosh, I miss this guy so much, man. Why did I get to talk to you one more time?
I'm sure he's listening to everything we're talking about.
Miss you,
Don't take nothing for granted, guys. This guy is my role model, my hero.
If you guys have parents, every night make it that goal for you to call, man.
Yeah, it's not worth it,
Speak
guys.
to your
You're
mom,
mad at
speak to your dad.
You're mad at your mom and dad.
I don't care how busy you are, make time.
It's simple. I love you guys. Anything,
Make time.
anything. If one day you won't have them,
It won't be here.
and this is all you're gonna have.
Pictures and videos. That's it.
Y'all enjoy y'all's
Good
day.
night.
Love you guys.